So the next thing that you want to make sure that you don't have to deal with from a regret standpoint. I know I spent a lot of time on the first two because that's usually going to be one of the biggest things that that our consumers and buyers have to navigate with that home buying regret. But the next thing that you want to make sure that you are not dealing with, which can be an issue, would be neighborhood nightmares. All right. So I know some clients completely hate the idea of an HOA. They don't want anything to do, depending on the city. Let me know in the comments if this is you. Oh, I see my boy Easy on the call. Good to see you, Easy. Good to see you, brother. Um, so I tend to lean on steering clients towards communities with an HOA, and I'll tell you why. Okay. Yes, it's true that if you are in a community that doesn't have an HOA, you have complete free range to do whatever you want with your house. If you want to paint your house polka dot, you can absolutely do that. If you want to put a garden in your front yard, you absolutely can do that with an HOA. If you want to, if you want to do whatever on your property, you can pretty much do that without an HOA. Most neighborhoods, if they don't have an HOA, they usually have covenants of some sort that are at least kind of a baseline level of HOA. But personally speaking, I tend to suggest to my clients to consider communities with an HOA, and I'll tell you a couple of use case scenarios. So let's say you have a neighbor, and that neighbor decides that they want to turn their driveway into a used car lot, or they want to change the engine out on their 92 Pinto in their driveway, and that car is just sitting completely stripped down, and literally your neighborhood looks like a used car lot. If you have an HOA community, you can report that person to the HOA. And if it's a good HOA, they'll be all over it. And they will send those individuals not so friendly warnings and then eventually fine them. If you're in a scenario where you've put a lot of money into your home, into the upkeep of your home, both inside and outside, and let's say you'll be ready to sell your property, if you're help your client sell their property, if you're representing the client, how much of a problem will that be if you as the listing agent know that your client's home is beautiful? They've updated it on the inside. They've got all the fancy schmancy stuff. They even put gold toilets in the joint. But their neighbor next door has decided to open a chicken farm because eggs are, from what I've hear, eggs are very expensive. I've been vegan for 10 years. So I haven't had an egg in over a decade almost. But they've decided to have a bunch of chickens and goats running around their property next to your client's property that's trying to sell their home. Or they've turned their property into a meth dealership, a meth dealer next door, and you're seeing all kinds of shady activity happening out of that neighbor's house, or your seller is, and now they cannot sell their home as easily because if a buyer walks up there and they see a chicken run across the doggone driveway or a couple of chickens and goats, unless that's something that they're looking for, if they're farmers and stuff like that, that's going to make that client's home less attractive. So when you have an HOA kind of situation, or at least a neighborhood that puts a very big emphasis on the upkeep and just making sure that every neighbor looks out for each other like our parents used to do,